Hi, I'm Dan from Technolicious doing another guest review for Geekanoids.co.uk and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Geekanoids. Today I am doing a review of two pedals from a fantastic company called TC Helicon. Now, pedals are something that you see a lot if you go to live music venues or see any live music, or even in a studio you'll still see pedal setups. Now, often pedals are used for guitarists. However, TC Helicon, I believe, is kind of pioneering the way of vocal pedals. I've seen vocal pedals before, but not a range quite as extensive and as accessible as this range that I've got in front of me. I've got two from the range. I've got one called the T1, and that improves tone, smoothness, dynamics, and can add warmth and things, which we'll be looking at and also listening to. And then there's also another pedal that I've had a lot of fun playing with, called the hard tune and correction pedal. Now, at the minute, I've got two microphones set up, just to fill you in on how I'm doing this. I've got two microphones set up. They're both identical. They're both Shure SM58s, so very common vocal microphones that you would get in live music. One of them is not even touching one of these pedals. It's just going straight into my audio interface. But then I have another one which is going through the pedals, so here, and back out and into my interface. So I'm just going to switch onto the one which is going through the pedal, and there we go. Okay. Now you can hear that it sounds very similar, although the gain is slightly different, because even when this pedal is turned off, there is a gain switch on the side, and this pedal is very good at increasing the gain without getting any hiss. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm just going to turn on this pedal. Obviously, I'd be doing that with my foot because it's a pedal. Now, you can hear already that it's already smoothing out my voice, and it's trying to make, even when I talk quieter, it's going to dynamically increase the gain, or when I talk louder, it's just going to try and smooth it out. I'm looking at the waveforms on my screen here, and that is very flat, even though when I'm talking quite quietly, and even when I'm talking much louder, it's smoothed out. It's still enough so that you can get a change of dynamics, but not so much that it's going to blast your ears out when you go for that big note. So I'm just going to show you some of the different things that you can play with for this. On the side, you've got the microphone gain, which I've got turned right up, so because, as I said earlier, it's very good at increasing gain without creating a hiss. We've got an LED indicator light of when audio is flowing through it. It's green for the most part, but then when it's getting much louder, you can see that it goes red, and it also starts to sound a little hissy on there. When it goes yellow, you can see that we're just getting a bit too close. On top, we've got the inputs for power, the microphone coming in, which is on XLR, and then another XLR jack for when it goes out the other end, having done its audio processing. It's also got on this side just a little button for microphone control. Round the side, on top, we've obviously got this big button here which turns the pedal on and off. Although one thing I will say is that even when it's off, the audio still goes through it, so you don't have to be unplugging it all the time when you don't want its effects. So let's just turn it on, and you can already hear a slight difference even when I'm just talking. Shape. This is something that's quite interesting because it's a very subtle change, but it's noticeable, and I'm actually quite grateful for it. So if we just turn up the shape all the way to full, that's obviously the easiest way to find out how it goes. And you can hear that it's kind of got rid of the background noise, and it's focusing a bit more on my voice. So if I can turn it down there, and when I turn the shape all the way up, it's focusing much more on my voice and trying to exclude as much background noise as possible. Also, when I'm singing, la 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 la, or something like that, it's just going to try and smooth out all of those waveforms as if you're looking at them. It's just trying to smooth them out and make them as nice a sounding as possible. So here, this is something where you've got compression and a de-essing feature. So if you turn it up there, it's going to try and get rid of as much background hiss as possible. But if you turn it up here, it's going to compress the audio as much as possible. And that's not like when you're compressing it into MP3, for example. It's not losing quality. All it's doing is trying to smooth out the volume so that it's as equal as possible. So even when you're talking quite quietly, it's going to turn it up. And even when you're talking quite loudly, it's going to keep it quite still. So there we go. I'm just going to turn that up to there. This warmth button is something that I also quite like, because when you're singing, it's quite noticeable. La 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 la. Sounds quite warm. It's a hard thing to describe as warmth, but when you're in an acoustic environment, which is where these are often used, because these are really geared towards live performance rather than in studio work, that's going to be something that you're going to notice. So now I'm just going to come back over onto my sort of commentary microphone, which all of a sudden sounds really quite odd, having not been processed by the shape, the warmth, and the compressor and such like. So all I'm going to do is turn everything off and unplug everything on my kind of test microphone and plug it in onto the hard tune pedal. Now it takes the same power adapter and the same inputs along the top. There we go. And I'll take you over now to the hard tune pedal. Which, are we there? Just let me do that. Okay, there we go. You can hear me. Good. That's just the gain that was turned down. On the exterior of this pedal, it's just something that I'll cover first. We've got an instrument through input, which is the only sort of slightly physical difference, and then there's the instrument in on the other side. Now, what happens with that is that because when you're tuning, you need to tune to the same key that you're performing in, obviously. I'm just going to turn the effects off there for a second. You need to tune to the same key that you're performing in. So if you are tuning to the wrong key, you may as well not tune your voice at all, because it's just going to sound off. It's not going to be with the music. However, if you need to change key or have a chord that's not in the scale, then you can't be constantly tweaking with this pedal, because that's just going to get in the way of your performance. So this is what the instrument through is for. You can plug in a guitar or a keyboard or anything with a 3/4 inch jack, and it will dynamically work out which key you're going with. So if you're playing a chord of G on your guitar, you'll be tuning to G. If you want to tune, if you're then changed to a chord of B major, which isn't naturally in the scale of G, then you can tune to that. So you can get the slightly different effects, and that is something that I've been playing around with, and for the most part, it works quite well. I've been quite impressed with that. And when you're doing that, you just turn the key knob to channel. For everything else, you've got B, B flat, A, okay, everything else in between. So let's just leave it in C for now, because you don't talk in key anyway. If I now just do turn on the effects of it, there are degrees of tuning that you can go to. You can go for the full-on hard tuning like you get nowadays. So if I could... Now, for me, that's sounding quite weird, because I can hear all the notes in between of just like that kind of vocal slur. But for this, it's correcting it to the nearest one every time. So someone that used this quite famously was Cher in her tragic comeback hit, Do You Believe in Love After Love? So, do you believe in love after love? Is what it will have sounded like. And to me, just coming through my ears there, that's sounding quite like the effect that this is going for. Obviously, if you just want something more subtle, you can leave it in the middle, all the way off, or just somewhere in between. And it does do some nice subtle changes, rather than obviously tuning it to the where you can hear it's obviously snapping to that nearest note. Gender is interesting as well to play with,
because it really lowers the pitch at the lower end of the scale, and I sound a bit like I'm on my Doppler. But if I turn it
all the way up, oh wow, I sound like Chipmunk. and it's quite strange. Or maybe just on helium. Either way, it's quite strange. Oh, yeah. So you can hear...
Oh, God, that's distracting. So you can hear the sort of effect that this does, and it does it straight away, off the cuff, and it's really quite fun to play with, especially when... Get that off. Especially when you're on stage. So I've had fantastic fun playing with these pedals, and I think... In fact, playing is probably the wrong word, because I've been using them in my music, and they've definitely made a noticeable addition to them. I'm just going to turn the effects off on that one. I'll just bring the box into shot here. This is the box that you get it in. It's quite well packaged, and it came for me with a European power adapter. I'm not sure if that's because it was kind of PR stock, or whether that's what you're actually going to get. But apart from that, I didn't have any problems with it. It also comes with a mini USB cable, because you can save certain profiles onto this with some software, that's some Windows-only software. And you can save them onto that, as well as doing software updates and other things, just through a USB port on top there. Just to show the underside, they're very well made. They're made of quite a sturdy feeling metal, which has been kind of powder-coated black. Look the part, they just blend in with the stage environment very well. Rubberized feet, just meaning that they're not going to move when you stomp on it, and they really can withstand a good stomp. Trust me, I've tried. Retail price for the T1, you're looking at about the £100 mark, though shop around. It's not a fantastically well-known brand. They're not stocked, everywhere. But that's not to say that it's not a respectable brand, because having used these, I think this is fast becoming a very respected brand. So yeah, shop around. You're probably best getting these online, or from the TC Helicon website at tc-helicon.com. And as I said, yeah, this is about the £100 mark, and this is sort of anywhere up to about 140, 150. I've been really impressed, because these are effects that you can get kind of post-studio. However, on stage, it's quite rare that you can get these effects to such a high quality. So I've been very impressed with these, and it's a shame to see them go. So this has been my review of the VoiceTone range of pedals from TC Helicon, and I've been Dan from Technolicious, doing a guest review for Geekanoids.co.uk.